One of the scariest movies of all time, according to scientists, is a movie we never really talk about, and I think there's a good reason for that. You see, in 2024, science decided that Sinister was the scariest movie of all time, and they figured this out in a very Clockwork Orange adjacent way. They showed 250 people a bunch of horror movies while measuring their heart rate and heart rate variability, which is just a sciencey way of saying they strapped people to some machines and showed them scary movies. This study has been done every year since 2020, and Sinister has topped the list every single year except one. The crew here at Channel 13 thinks Sinister falls apart in the third act. But we also get it. The one year that Sinister did not claim the scariest movie of all time was in 2021. When the motion picture Host took the number 1 spot, and it has held the number 2 spot every year since. And what's weird is nobody talks about this movie. Before we get into that, I want to be clear. This list is not some chump shit. We're talking modern classics like Hereditary, Smile, and Talk to Me are all near the top of this list. And don't worry, old heads, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and The Descent all find their way into the top 30. So this isn't some thrown together letterbox list. But the movie that keeps landing at number 2, and once even hit number 1, is Host. Yes, a horror movie filmed entirely through Zoom, and I know that sounds annoying, but just hang with me on this one. Host came out on Shudder in July of 2020. It's a British movie, but for the US, this was the very beginning of the pandemic and it was actually starting to feel real. When Host dropped, lockdowns were just starting to hit hard outside of major US coastal cities. And suddenly there's this horror movie depicting the new normal that we were all trapped inside in. The movie follows a group of friends quarantining during the pandemic who hop on Zoom to do a seance. It's a bad idea. And it becomes extremely bad when supernatural shit starts happening to them. When Host came out, horror fans loved it, critics loved it, audiences loved it, and yet just 6 years later, it's basically ignored. It's put in the same junk drawer containing Tiger King and sourdough bread recipes, and we think there's a big reason for that. The COVID-19 pandemic was one of the most significant global events in human history, and it was deeply traumatic, and one extremely unhealthy coping mechanism for trauma is to just pretend it never happened. When individuals have PTSD, psychologists call this coping mechanism avoidance. Really think back to 2020 and 2021. There was art trying to help us process what was happening, but now a lot of that art has either been ignored or is weirdly recontextualized. Take Bo Burnham's Inside. At the time, everyone called it the pandemic special, but now when we talk about songs like Welcome to the Internet or White Woman's Instagram, the pandemic backdrop is erased. Or look at Ari Aster's Eddington, which came out last year and is set during the pandemic. Aster's usually a critical darling, Hereditary, Midsommar, but saying Eddington got mixed reviews is an understatement. A lot of people straight up hated that movie, like they were processing their pandemic-related trauma at it as opposed to reviewing it. And I think a lot of that hatred comes from one thing. We don't want to think about 2020 because then we might have to face how it profoundly impacted all of us. Now look, maybe we here at Channel 13 are completely talking out of our asses. Maybe Eddington just sucks. Maybe Host is a fluke. Maybe the pandemic had zero lasting impact on pop culture. But really think back and put yourself back in 2020 and 2021. A lot of us lost people, and all of us know someone who was never quite the same after the lockdown. Hell, maybe you weren't the same after the lockdown. And the fact that we casually call it the lockdown, a literal synonym for being in prison, says a lot about how the pandemic was affecting us psychologically at the time. All of this is to say, Host is an excellent horror movie that we collectively overlook. Are we dealing with some kind of cultural PTSD? Or are we here at Channel 13 completely full of shit? Before you answer, we linked a bunch of actual science in the description that says we might be right, but if you still think we're wrong, let us know in the comments.
Oh, good, you're still here. Listen, CH13 are a collection of independent content creators, which means we rely on your support. So if you like what we are doing here and you would like to see more content like this, then please like, subscribe, and comment. So let us know what we can do better. Let us know what kind of content you want to hear, because we cannot do this without you. Thanks for listening, guys.